This is how learning a backflip changes the body in a positive way. And to be clear, I am not trying to get you to do a backflip right now. What I am trying to do is go over with you the positive benefits and the transformation of learning a backflip. And for the record, I can teach a backflip in 25 seconds. Watch. The first thing you need to be able to do a backflip is just a jump. It's really just two moves. Number one is the jump, at least a foot off of the ground. And then the other one is, and we often go through this for assessments for people that have never done a flip before in their life. And these two moves just make it click for them. But the other one is this. I'll have them lay down on the ground, arms up over their head like this, and then I'll say, imagine that you've just jumped and you're coming up through the air, and then you're doing a reverse crunch. And that is what creates the rotation through the air. And you're using your core to do a reverse crunch and pulling the legs up over the head. And so from the side view, you can see all it is these two moves, just a jump and then the reverse crunch. That's it. Now, some of my students, they may take only 5 minutes to learn how to do a backflip. I've taught one student, I can remember doing a wall front flip, which is a step up on the wall and then a front flip towards the wall in literally 5 minutes. We timed it. And then another student, I taught him how to do a Kong vault, which is vaulting over a block and then going into a backflip. And it was literally 5 minutes. Now, for other people, it might take them 5 days to learn a backflip. For others, it might take 5 weeks. For others, 5 months. And for some, it may take 5 years to go through the transformation process to make the body capable of being able to do a backflip. And so there's a lot more involved in it. And it's really evidence of both an inward change in terms of the mindset, as well as an outward change of the physical body and everything structurally that holds it together and makes it capable of doing that type of human movement at that level. And so the first thing that people can hold people back from doing a backflip is the shoulder mobility. There's a lot of students that they'll try over and over and over again to do a backflip, and they'll stop their shoulders here, or their shoulders don't lift up very high. And so it's like fighting against a brick wall to actually develop that skill. And so that's the first thing. And we'll go from the top of the body downward, okay? So shoulder mobility, and we're generating speed and lift by throwing the arms up in the air. So this is a lot of force. This is a lot of force on the connective tissue, which is a component that we'll discuss today, and how to develop that so that you can gain body mastery and not only develop moves like a backflip, and you may or may not want to do a backflip, but this applies to all types of training, especially the body weight strength and skill that serves as the foundation for all other athletics, disciplines of movement, and even all of life. So that's the first thing, just taking a look at the swing of the arms. So we're jumping up very high and using the arms for lift. The second thing is, whenever we get into the rotation, the core, imagine this. I'm sure you've done crunches, sit-ups, reverse crunches like I showed. When you are doing this, you have to imagine, again, the forces involved. And so you're training your core to be able to, and not just your core in your midsection, but your hip flexors as well, to pull the legs up and over and resist centrifugal force, which is going in a rotation, and it's generating at least 1, 2, maybe 3 times of G's of force that's pulling your legs back and away from your body. And so you're resisting that. So it's not only just a reverse crunch, but you're doing it dynamically, which is allowing you to experience all of that power and put it into a higher level skill. Now, a critical piece to this development is that if you're taking the time to build out your body to be able to do these kind of things, then you have such a high level of a buffer for daily life. So think about that for a second. The average person who just sits in the office all day and they're just working on a computer all day, and then they go to the gym maybe, and they do some of the mainstream exercises and stuff, and then they try to go do a sport on the weekend or something, they're the ones that are not putting themselves in the best of positions. But a person that is able to do a backflip, or able to do a front flip, or able to do a handstand, or any of these other things that we teach and help students to master, it puts you in a different level in terms of your threshold for what your body can handle in terms of forces. And so the impact that may destroy somebody else would be nothing to you as you built the body and the structure to be able to handle that force. So that's the second thing. The third thing is, think about the landings of the legs. You heard the noise whenever I did a backflip. I'll do another one. So landing, that shock of a landing is this. Not only are you landing on the floor from a jump, okay, which is generating whatever, it's a max jump. So whatever that math equals out to. If you're doing it off of a height, so you start scaling up and you're doing like 2 times body weight, 3 times body weight, 4 times body weight of force on the impact of that landing. Now the other thing that occurs in a backflip, and the thing that your body is growing, so like think about the forces again. It's not just the shock on the muscles. There's connective tissue involved. There's the joints and ligaments, how everything is tied together, the fascia. There's also the bones. So the density of the bones has to be dense enough that it can withstand that type of force. And there's also the nervous system component. Can it handle that repetitively for training? And so you're actually building all these thresholds higher and higher and higher. And so that landing there, 2 times body weight, 3 times body weight, 4 times body weight of force, boom. And so that would be just a regular easy landing. Now, what people don't take into consideration is all of the other variables that may occur. So imagine a backflip where you land a little low. One of the moves that we have in our warm-up is this, toe sit. So sitting on the toes like this and developing greater range of motion, flexibility, the ability to handle that tension right here. Imagine you land a backflip short and you come down and you hit your toes like this. Or imagine you have maybe a little bit of imbalance because one side of your body is stronger than the other side. And so when you pull your backflip, or maybe the aerial awareness isn't fine-tuned, and so you're pulling with one side more dominantly than the other side. And so you come down at an angle. Now we're getting into, okay, are the knees ready to move back and forth and go with that unequal distribution of weight on impact? So for example, this flip here, flash kick, pulling one leg out in front here. Sometimes people will land like this and they're loaded in this lunge. Can the knees handle that amount of force? Can we get the hips turned out to be able to make that quarter turn? So there's a lot of other little variables that are coming into play on learning such a skill as a backflip. And again, this is not just a backflip. This is about any other type of skills. And so if people want to bubble wrap themselves and stay in a comfort zone and never train outside of that box, well, number one, they're not building that buffer for all of life so that they have a higher threshold and can handle whatever it is that they want to do. And then they're not ever exploring what the human body is capable of doing. And so this is more than just training or working out. This is really a culture of human capability. And so that's what the point of this is to share with you the possibility that you have for raising your human capability, your capacity for movement. So we've talked about the arms, we've talked about the core, we've talked about the impact on the legs, coming down into the toes on a short landing maybe. Do the ankles have enough stability and mobility that we can land a little bit awkwardly and be okay? We discussed the knees. The knees need to be able to move a little bit laterally. The joint itself doesn't move laterally, or knees don't go like this, except if you're dancing, but we need to have a little bit of ability to land in awkward positions and then be resilient from that. So these are just a handful of the benefits of what change, how the body benefits in a positive way from the transformation and the training to develop something like a backflip. And this is not just for kids, although it's very easy to be able to spot them and get them doing backflips and stuff. And like I said, it's easy to teach the concepts. It's only 2 moves within, I can share that within 25 seconds. And sometimes it only takes 5 minutes for a person to learn a backflip. Maybe it's 5 days, maybe it's 5 weeks. The other thing that's growing as you're training for a skill like that is your confidence. So much more. You gain so much more confidence from training a skill like that. And then sometimes it might take 5 months and maybe even 5 years for a person to get to that ability. And so let's discuss that. Maybe you're somewhere in the middle of that. Maybe it's just 6 months to a year. Think about that. Imagine the transformation that can be accomplished within that time frame. A lot of people overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 day or a couple of weeks. And of course, people are looking for the quick fix and the quick hack to try to either make pain go away or try to, get a new skill. And then they underestimate what they could accomplish in 6 months or a year, or, oh my gosh, 5 years. Or could you imagine 10 years? You can't even fathom what you can accomplish in 10 years. And so all of the people that have risen up to advanced levels or even up to level 10, it's taking them a few years to get to that point. But it's just about doing the small little things each day. And those, like I showed you today, of developing your shoulder flexibility and mobility, that can be accomplished through hand balancing as well as other skills. And then your core strength, not only through just basic exercises like reverse crunches, but also things like the V stand that I cover in other videos. Then we're getting into the legs, which those lunges, being able to deal with forces not only unilaterally, but also with movement and dynamic load. And then, of course, if we get into a low landing and our feet are underneath us, we might catch it in a low squat. If you look up, one of the first triple backflips ever landed in a super low squat, and he was probably 10 feet in the air, triple backflip, and all the way down here in the landing, and popping straight back up. So that's what I'm talking about, the toes being able to handle those forces. And so, again, training for a skill like this, whether it's a backflip or a front flip or a butterfly kick or an aerial or a cartwheel or a handstand or a muscle up or a human flag or a flare, all of these things help to build you from the inside out mentally. There's that neurological component, neuroplasticity, where within skills acquisition, you're developing your neural pathways, and then that is resculpting your entire body. And then that is giving you a buffer for all of life, to where you can go and do all kinds of other adventures and just enjoy. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video and in training soon.